Hello and welcome back. I appreciate you coming over for a visit. So today we are going to talk about my summer novelty phals, the ones that have the Polychilus genus in them, most of them. But before that, I wanted to look at Larks Song one last time. As you can tell, her blooms are going over. But she was gorgeous while she lasted. She was in bloom for about 3 months, give or take. I'm just going to set her on this table right here, so if it shakes a little bit, I do apologize. So I had gotten, I think, all of these in September timeframe of 2021. And at the time, I was curious to see if the growth would continue as though they were still in their natural environment, which is very warm, humid environment. And if they would continue to grow or if they would stall, as most plants do, not just orchids, but plants in general, with the changing of the season being winter. Well, it is almost spring, and I thought I'd look at them and then share with you kind of what I found. Now, I will watch them again next year because I did not have them for a full year previously. I had just gotten them in September, so I'm not sure if the growth is really that much different than if I would have had them for a year, but let's just see what they've done over the winter. I'm going to do the big ones first and get them out of the way. So the first one is my Phalaenopsis Ascendiriana. Let me just show you her little tag there. I got her from Brookside Orchids, and she was in September, she was growing this leaf right here, which she has finished, and now she's been working on this leaf over the winter. I recently did repot her in one of the Allen and Roth orchid pots that I recently got because she was growing out of the other pot, was a smaller pot, and those roots were going out. She was kind of hanging out. So I do have her sitting up a little more. In the other pot, she was leaning forward. I'm sure over time that will go back because these do have a tendency, like all phals, to want to lay down and grow down as they naturally would. And as I talk about the big ones, I am going to move them out of the way because I don't want to break anything. So then we have also, the Phalaenopsis Scriptiosis. Again, a Brookside Orchids purchase. Let me clean it off so you can really read that tag. And I hope I'm saying that name correctly. That's as close as I can get it. I also repotted her in a larger pot just because, again, she was growing out of the pot. But when I got her, she had this spike right here, and she had this spike. Since I've gotten her, she has grown this spike that we see here. She has grown this leaf, as well as working on this leaf and multiple aerial roots. And her aerial roots are kind of small, but the roots in the pot are about the same size. So I'm not sure if that's just something in this particular breed or not. However, I thought all of them were absorbing leaves. Well, she's obviously absorbing her leaf, but let me just pull out, well, I'll show you on this one too. So do you see how pale the leaves were? Well, I thought that they were being absorbed, but it's actually a magnesium deficiency because what I did is I've been giving them a soak in Epsom salt every 3 weeks, and their green is now starting to come back. Of course, it's going to take another few months for them to get really luscious and green, but you can even tell on this new one. I don't know if you can see the striations in there or not. Let's see, get a little bit closer. But do you see how it's kind of got lime striping in there? That's a calcium deficiency. It's greening up as I am giving her more Epsom salt baths. And what I do is I just soak them for about 20 minutes, and then I let them drain really well. I let them sit for the day, and then towards the end of the day, I'll just run some water through, just because I do have sphagnum moss in there and I don't want that salt to build up in the sphagnum. Then we have my last really big girl, the Phalaenopsis tainshin fly eagle. Again, Brookside Orchids. Most of these I got from Brookside Orchids. Let's see if I can show you that tag there. Okay, and I'll just show you in the back too. Brookside Orchids. She's another one I got in September. So since I've gotten her, she has grown this leaf. She's developed this spike, which did give me 3 blooms, and she does have another bud swelling there. She's developed these ginormous aerial roots here. You can see them under the leaf. And lots of roots are in les potes. And she was the initial one that I thought this leaf right here was being absorbed because it was getting yellow. But again, as I'm giving her the Epsom salt, she is starting to green back up. I mean, she's kind of a lime green now, but so that is one sign to look for. So if you see a yellowing leaf, yes, they do naturally lose leaves, but look at all of your orchids, especially if they're kind of in the same area and you treat them the same. I know some people mix different fertilizers and different supplements for different groupings. I just do it all together. But just kind of look at all of them, and if they all kind of have the same symptoms, kind of narrow it down to see if it is leaf absorption, or it could be magnesium deficiency. It could be some sort of little critter rolling around in there. So far, knock on wood, I haven't had any critters except for a little bit of a millibug issue when I had my string of bananas hanging over my orchids, but that was fixed rather quickly. So here we have the Phalaenopsis hieroglyphica. Now this is one that was sent to me from Orchid Classics. They had a special last year where you picked out 4 or 5 or polychilous crosses for a certain amount of money. So I went ahead and did that. That's where the Sanderiana came from as well. No, Brookside Orchid Sanderiana. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Orchid Classics is where I got the 4. Sorry about that. Anyway, so here's the hieroglyphica, and I've had her since August of last year. So now she is still in all moss and just a bark topping, but you can see all of her new roots that she is growing in there. So since I've gotten her, she has finished this leaf right here and is working on a new leaf here. Again, her leaves are kind of multicolored because, again, she had that magnesium deficiency and is slowly getting her color back. And then we have a Phalaenopsis Yinz Black Eagle. Again, Brookside Orchids. There we go. So since I've gotten her, she has lost one bottom leaf. She did actually absorb it. It was not magnesium deficiency. She just actually absorbed that one. She's grown this leaf since the beginning of the winter, and I don't see a new leaf growing quite yet, but she does have lots and lots of roots in this pot right here. I am going to tell you guys a little trick. So I know we don't want to break roots. So what I did with her is I took all of the moss because she was getting a lot of algae buildup. Apparently this cover wasn't deep enough with the roots. And so she was getting a lot of algae buildup. So I took all of the moss out, left her in the pot, didn't take her out of the pot, sprayed with hydrogen peroxide. And then I just filled in the media of moss and small bark chips back in there, never taking her out of the pot. So if that's something you'd like to see me do, because I do still need to do that with this one here, go ahead and leave that in the comments down below, and I'll do a quick video and show you how to do that. All right, let's put her away. Then we have the Phalaenopsis Violacio crossed with sibling. I got her from Orchid Classics. Now this one I've had for a year. So I got her in January of 2021. So I've had her over a year. It is March 2022. And I just can't seem to get her right. So she's lost several leaves back here. All of the leaves that you see, these 4 leaves, she's grown since I've gotten her. And she is now starting to work on, see that? I don't know if can you see the little tip of that leaf coming up? I don't see her roots quite yet. She does have them because her leaves are rather stiff, so she's got something in there, and I don't want to take her out and disturb her and see what she's got. So we'll just leave her alone. I think that's one of the reasons she's been set back. She was kind of one of my test subjects as far as the polychilous species type crosses. And then we have the Phalaenopsis Mini Mark, again, a Brookside's purchase. Oh, I remember. I got more orchids in a Brookside's purchase than I intended because I forgot to take things out. You know how you do, you put stuff in a buggy and you're like, oh, I think I want this, maybe this, maybe this. And then normally most people will go and double check that cart and then take out what they don't want right then. Well, I was just like purchase, and I ended up with way more than I intended to, but hey, I've got them and I love them. But she did bloom for us, and I will post a picture of the bloom if I can get the software to talk to each other, having that issue again. But as you can see, she kind of needs some watering. Do you see how dry her roots are? They're kind of that silver. And what I do with all of them is I do kind of let them get almost completely dry before I water them. And now that they have the bark, I will water around the edge, or 9 times out of 10, I will still set them in the water, kind of let them absorb, and then the moss is throughout, it'll absorb it through. So then we have the Phalaenopsis Speciosa Red. Again, I got from Orchid Classics. That one. And this one I've also had since January of 2021. I bought this one and the Violacious cross to sibling. She is still in her all moss setup. And as you can see, her roots are still moist, so I will wait another day before I add more water. And she's actually starting to branch a little root right here. But since I've gotten her, she's lost 2 leaves. So she's grown this leaf, this one, this one. This is the one that she worked on over the winter, and now she is starting on another. I'm hoping that she blooms for me this year because I feel like she's big enough now. She's got enough foliage to do it. As I always say, we have one plan, our orchids always have another. And then we have the Philippines. And this one is one that I got in the Orchid Classics where they, you choose, I had them choose for me, and this is one of the ones they sent. So there's the Philippines. Now she did bloom as well. Again, I will post pictures if I am able. And she's got a root coming out here. She's got this aerial root. She's actually got 3. She's got that one, this one, and this one. And the thing I absolutely adore is, one, the leaves. Okay, I mean, look at that. Look at the modeling on there and the shiny. I hope you can see that. It's like a little snake skin. Now, I don't like snakes in real life, but I love their patterning. I love looking at them from a distance. And another thing I really think is awesome about this particular one, and some of our hybrids will do this as well, but do you see how the top of the root has the anthocyanin? Well, if we just tip it just a wee bit, look at the bottom is green. I just think that is just the coolest thing. And then the roots themselves have a silvery sheen to them. So it's really hard to tell whenever it is dry, because even when I put water on them, I really don't see it absorbing. I know it is because they do get a little flexible, but oh my goodness, she's so gorgeous. And she did lose the 1 leaf that she had here. She grew this leaf as well as, like I said, she grew a spike that had 3 little blooms on it, and looks like she is about to work on another leaf. I'm going to kind of show you and see if you can see it, but it's right down in there. You can barely see it. Be very interesting to see what these girls do. Now, from what I've researched, the Philippines, as opposed to the Schilleriana, the Philippines is your fall-winter bloomer, and the Schilleriana is like spring-summer bloomer. Correct me in the comments if I've got it backwards or if I've misread that or misunderstood what they were saying. All right, and then here's another one of my Brookside load. All right, so this is the Hoya Evergreen. Okay, she came to me with these 2 spikes. She did come in bloom, and she did bloom off of each spike before winter. Since winter, though, she's just kind of been doing nothing. She kind of grew this leaf here, and she is starting on another leaf right there. And it looks like this bud, let's see if I can turn it. Looks like the 2 buds right there are trying to swell. And then she's got that one right there that looks like it's trying to swell. And again, you can kind of see the discoloration where the coloring is coming back. I don't know if you remember the video where I was worrying about the color and I thought it was the Barina lights were brightening them too much. Apparently it was, I wasn't giving them enough magnesium. My baby right here. Oh my goodness. We have Miss Summer Rose, who is just growing out of this pot. Look at that. Look at those big, beautiful roots with those beautiful, beautiful growing tips. She is just loving life right now. Now, her leaves are supposed to be lighter, but if the light hits it really well, especially like right in here, you can kind of see the yellowing a little bit. You see it right there in the center? Again, she's starting to green up, but look what we have, guys. She is swelling that bud. I'm hoping to see that by the end of the week. So this is the Summer Rose Blue Star. I believe this is also an Orchids Classic. I lost the tag, so I'm not sure if I got it from Orchid Classics or if I got it from Brookside, but those are the two main places I like to shop. All right, and then the Phalaenopsis, formerly known as Saderia Japonica. Again, part of the Brookside load. I ended up putting her in here. She was in a smaller pot with all moss, and that moss, again, was about the color of her leaves. And so her roots were too long to put in another smaller one. And she had lots of root tip growth, so I put her in the larger pot so I don't have to disturb her again for a while. I don't see any roots currently. Oh, I lied. There is a root right here. Let me see. So this winter she was starting this leaf, so she's finished this leaf. She's finishing off this leaf here, and I don't see a new leaf growth. I think she's still working on that one. And I did wait until I saw new root growth before I put her in the setup. And this root that you see going down in the media, that's one of the new roots, as well as this one right back here. It was trying to go aerial, and I trained it to go down into the media. Okay, let me put my Yaupon back over here because I've been very forgetful of late. And let's talk about my two Bellinas. So I ordered a Bellina from, oh, I can't remember what company I ordered them from. Oh, Orchid Classics, the tag is right there. From Orchid Classics, I ordered a Bellina, and I can't even remember what the other orchid was supposed to be, but they were out of stock of that one, so they sent me a freebie. Well, it ended up being another Bellina. So now that I have two, I'm kind of doing a little experiment. So this one here is in moss and small bark. Okay, and since I've gotten her, she did finish this leaf right here. It was almost this size, so she hasn't done much, but she has put out some aerial roots, and she does have roots in the pot, but I don't see any new growth. It looks like a leaf might be coming, but it's too soon to tell. Now she hangs on the wall, and on the wall over here, that's in right by this east-facing window, but there's also a grow light kind of supplementing them. And then this one is currently in water culture because, as you can see, her roots were kind of drying out and kind of going bad. I cut off quite a few of them. Well, now she's got root tips coming out as well as some new roots growing up under there. So I'm debating on whether or not to leave her in the water culture since I do have two of them. Currently what I'm doing with her is I'm leaving her in water for 5 days, and then I take her out of the water for 24 hours, and then I add the water back in. I am using the zero water. For 2 of those 5 days, she has fertilizer. And then I dump that water out, and then I just add plain water that has 0 TDS in it for her to sit in for the next 3 days. So it seems to be working. And I really enjoy watching these roots coming. So I probably will leave her in water culture. So if you do grow water culture, I'd appreciate any tips that you might have, especially since this one is a polychilous and they don't like to stay dry as long or as often as our hybrids do. Again, I would appreciate any feedback. Let me know. And then, guys, so everyone, well, not everyone, but for those of you who've been watching me for a while know that I have the Sogovivans Leaf's Edge that was gifted to me by Nicole Deanne. Here's the tag, and she sent it to me in July. She did spike, and I did let her bloom. We did it for a care collab, and then I cut the spike shortly thereafter because she was starting to dry out this leaf, and her roots were looking a little wanky, so I did cut her spike, and I repotted her into here. And as you can see, so she does have this aerial root here, but she also has roots in here, and over the winter she did finish this leaf here, but I call that a stress leaf because, like I said, I cut her spike and repotted her as she was growing this leaf. But this newest leaf, if you can see, looks like it's going to have way more variegation on it. So this is the Phalaenopsis Sogovivans Leaf's Edge. So I went to Lowe's yesterday. I was meeting my sister-in-laws for brunch, and I needed to get some soil because I divided my rubber tree plant, my Burgundy elastica, and was giving them each a piece. And of course, you know, browsing through, I stopped by the Phalaenopsis. I always do, and you will not believe what I found for $10. Look at this. I have another Sogovivan, and she is the solid green. So now I have a solid green Sogovivan and the Leaf's Edge. So it's going to be interesting to watch these ladies grow. So I do have her spiked, and I did have to repot her because the moss that she was in smelled and it was dry, as well as the moss was all in the bottom leaves, and I tried to remove, and I couldn't. So she is still staked because when I took the stake off, she was pulling a little bit on here because she hasn't quite settled into this pot. But as most of you know, I really don't like staking my orchids if I don't have to. But I was rather pleased to get this lady right here. And because her leaves are nice and green, I am going to also continue giving the magnesium baths to all of them as well as her. And if her leaves stay green, then I know, and these continue greening up, then I know that was my main issue with these girls. All right, well, that is the update on them. And like I said, I don't think that they grew in their normal rate. I do believe that they did slow down because as the days are getting longer, I've noticed a lot more activity on these ladies. And my temperature in my home, because I do grow in my home here in Colorado, in the living room, has a steady temperature pretty much all year. The lowest it'll go is 65, the highest it'll go is 75. So usually it runs around 74. Is the average, and they've stayed under the Barina lights the entire time. So I do believe there is something into, they just know the rhythm of nature. So like I said though, I am going to watch them again during the growth season this year, and then at the end of the season next winter kind of watch their growth pattern and just see if it slows down. But like I said, since the days have gotten longer, I have noticed that there is lots of more growth, which is good. Hoping that the Scriptiosis here, this lady here, who came with 2 spikes, has grown a spike. I'm just hoping that she decides to bloom. So it does look like this one here, looks like the bud is trying to kind of swell out, as well as over here. It appears that there might be 2 trying to swell out. So I would just love to get her in bloom. I mean, she's got the spikes. Come on, lady, what you waiting for? So girls and boys and children of all ages, I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any feedback on how my ladies look and what I can do to make them look better, leave that in the comments down below. If you have any of these orchids and would like to do a care collab, leave that in the comments down below. And I do know that there is a care collab, like I stated earlier, on the Sogovivan. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to the care collab initiator, Nina from Ninja's Orchids. I'll leave her email in the description below, if I remember. If not, you can go to her channel. She has it in her description. And with that, I hope you guys are having a lovely day, and I'll see you on the next one.